Welcome to Complete Edition, the podcast between a PlayStation Trophy Hunter and an Xbox Achievement Hunter. This is a special episode with Sean Mason. So today, AJ will not be joining us, and it will be two PlayStation Hunters, I'm sure. Do you play any other platforms, Sean?
I play a little bit of Xbox, and PC because I got a Steam Deck and I'm like loving it.
Wow,
But
really?
yeah, it's like awesome. Like,
Do you have a Switch?
I haven't turned my Switch on since March 21st of 2021.
This is so good to hear because I'm constantly like, the idea of the handheld platforms competing with each other is something that very much intrigues me because I want a Vita to come back, you know?
Me too.
And
Me
so
too.
if Sony and then PC and then Nintendo all got in a race for handheld, while Sony also has the ability to keep pushing PS5 and competing with Xbox and that space, I just think it makes gaming better all around. And so it's really cool to hear that you have a Steam Deck because like I'm just like you. I actually don't have a Switch. I usually borrow a Switch whenever there's exclusives from my friend, but like I have the PS5, the Xbox, and PC. And so, you know, I'm pretty agnostic, but I generally play PlayStation because I love trophies so very much.
Same
But
here. Like I'll basically almost everything's on PlayStation. Like there's some, like, for example, like that game Live Alive that just came out. Like I'm really interested in that on Switch, but I'm like, I know this is eventually going to come to PS4, well, PlayStation or Steam in general, so I can just wait.
I feel that sometimes. It's like, I mean, look at Stray. Like this is going to be a spoiler cast about Stray, but it's like that came out on PC and PlayStation, and I just automatically was like PlayStation, despite
Oh, of
knowing that
course,
like
yeah.
PC might run it higher fidelity and higher frame rates and stuff. It's like, but I could play it on my PS5 and get trophies though.
Yeah. Basically, what I've been using my Steam Deck for is like to replay games that I've already played on PlayStation, or games that are only available, like games from like the PS3 era that I can't play on current gen that I like want to play again.
That makes sense. Yeah. I would love one, but I don't know how much I'd use it. It's so interesting cuz like I think that I would use it in bed a lot. I think that's the only time I would use it. I don't really game on the go very much. Maybe I will in the future though. Who knows, you know?
I'm still using my Vita though, still love that thing.
Me too. Dude, actually I can talk about this with you. Like I beat 3 more bosses on New Game Plus. So I'm making progress. Serious.
Little by little. Yeah, I think with Rogue Legacy, the further you get in, once you get in that rhythm, the game just gets easier.
It's the incremental progress. Like I could not believe it when I jumped to New Game Plus, and the amount of gold that you get from New Game Plus is ridiculous. I could not believe it. I was like, what the hell? I was grinding out so much and like getting barely any gold, and now whenever I kill something, it drops not only just 20 gold per thing, but like several gold coins at a time. So I'm getting hundreds and thousands, and like I think my high score of like is like 45,000 gold. I never even got close to 20,000 when I was playing on like the base, not New Game Plus, like
I think they reward you a lot more in the New Game Plus. They make the enemies a little bit more difficult, but I think that goes along with the extra benefit of getting more gold. And your character, I mean, it's so much easier to level up, I feel like, in New Game Plus.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually just grinding out. So the last trophy I earned was I got all the runes. I found every rune so far, and now
that's our New Game Plus. You need New Game Plus for that. Yeah,
you really do. And then the other thing that I'm starting to focus on now is like as I'm leveling up the character, I'm just going and getting all the blueprints so that you can have like all the armor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the next trophy I'll focus on, and then I'll beat the game for a second time, focusing on like there's some like taunt thing that you have to get, I think, for the final boss, but it's something where I still don't know if I'm going to be able to platinum this game. I have not beat a single remix boss. They are so difficult.
Okay, so for the remix boss, I'm just going to give you. Sorry, I know we're supposed to be talking about Stray, but it's Rogue Legacy. I mean,
yeah, it's Rogue Legacy. I'm like obsessed with this right now.
Yeah, for those extra optional bosses, like the extra difficult ones, it's all about the pattern. You have to figure out the pattern. And once you figure out that pattern, you'll be fine. And it's going to take, obviously, just figuring out what the pattern is and everything. It takes some skill. But once you figure out that pattern and you just practice at it, you'll get through it. It got to the point where the first optional boss, like, in the first section, like in
the eyeball?
The eyeball, yeah. that pattern is very easy to figure out, and once you figure it out, you'll be like, oh, how did I like not figure this out? And then when you see, I did the optional bosses before I did the beat the game in 15 deaths or fewer,
Yeah.
and that doing the optional bosses first made the regular bosses extremely easy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that they do. And I think that that first boss is the one that I'm getting the closest to, but it's still like I can only get it down to half health before I die. So I'm not like perfect, but I figured out one of these patterns like you talked about, like learning the all of the moves. And when it does a like a clockwise
Yep.
spiral, I can go left, jump up, and then I can like triple jump all the way over, and then I can like dash back down onto the platform. But when it spins the opposite direction, I can't do that same maneuver because it goes higher on the right side, and I'm like, I don't know
You'll
what to do.
you'll figure it out. Trust me, you're gonna figure it out, and then you're gonna be like, "How did I not see that? Like, how did I not see that?" And I'm gonna tell you right now, the fourth optional boss is easier than the third optional boss. The third optional boss I had the most trouble with.
Are you talking about like the slime?
Yes,
The slime was very easy. Like I didn't die one time. I beat that first try, and that was the only boss in the game I beat first try. The flame is really really hard.
the flame optional boss is I got not angry, but I got very like annoyed at a lot. It took me the longest to beat.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to that because it's the one that I know for sure I'm going to struggle with the most. The skull. I don't think I've tried the skull optional boss.
That one's not that difficult.
No, I
It's
don't think.
it's pretty similar to the original boss fight, and it's just
Wait,
like a little bit more difficult, but it's not that bad.
I did try that one. That's the one where it has like the spikes down the middle, and then you
Yeah,
have to like
it's not that
teleport
bad.
to
You
it.
can actually there's like a way to utilize because you can only get hit like 5 or 6 times before you die in that one, but you can utilize like when you're hit and you're like invincible for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you get on the
Yeah, you can
spikes.
utilize that to your advantage where you're
Yes.
invincible a little bit and just start like hacking at them.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing because it's actually really interesting. I noticed this. I think I watched a video and then I was like, I don't understand why he keeps going to the spikes. And then I got hit by one of the small guys and it was like 58 damage. And then I got hit by the big dude or the big skull and it was like a ton of damage. It was like 70 or something. And I was like, oh my God. And I fell on the spikes and it was like 28 damage. I'm like, oh, that's why he gets onto the spikes because if he gets that like the invulnerability, he's just taking like 28 damage at a time or 21 damage, I think is what the total was. But it was like you can take a lot more hits if you're down like on the spikes that way. But I like try to start the match off and like fight as well as I can, teleport to the other side, and then like do my best to get around. But if I know that like I'm getting cornered, I just go straight down. I'm just like, okay, just spikes and then I'll like find my way out of here.
You have
But
to you have to make sure you're utilizing. You know how you can put down your shadow and teleport back to it.
yep, that's what
Yeah,
I do.
you really have to utilize that.
I do. I put it in the top left corner usually. But
Yeah, that's where I usually started off with. Yeah, but no, I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's exciting to see you go for the plat on that. I kind of just like I started it and I'm like this is mine, and I just went for it.
And I wanted to ask you one last question about Rogue Legacy.
Yep.
With all the optional bosses, did you beat any of them on Vita?
Yes, I beat the skull, the eyeball, like the first
No
the first
way.
one. Yeah, I beat the eyeball, the first one. I beat the second optional boss, and I beat the fourth optional boss, all on Vita. The third one I did not. I started it on Vita, and like I said, it was so difficult. And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play on the bigger screen. I think that might help me a little bit, and I ended up getting through it.
That's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to play on the bigger screen because I'm not saying that it's going to like change everything, but I feel like a bigger real estate gives you a little bit more like wiggle room, especially with like just inching your way over. I
Yeah.
think that I'll be able to dodge a little bit better if I have a lot more screen space, but I don't know how it'll be. And I'm going to try it on PS4, I think, because it has like a cross save.
Yep, has the cross
Feature.
save. It works out perfect.
Yeah, my favorite. I wanted to mention this, and I'll tell AJ too. But like I think my favorite characteristic is the hypochondriac one, where you get hit and it says like 5,000 damage. It makes me laugh every time, dude. I get it, and I'm like, oh, this is a hypochondriac. I get it, but that's a The game is very charming and very funny. But let's talk about Stray. The complete. Let's.
Oh yeah.
Did you complete it? Did you platinum it?
I got the plat. I did not do like you. I did not do it on PS4 and PS5. I was thinking about it, but then I saw that you had posted that it's kind of like 30 FPS, and I'm like,
Oh my gosh, dude.
I don't want to go back to it and just.
It's one thing that I wanted to say to like everyone is like I had, we've been talking about the PS5 for a while, and it just seems like a lot of people are like, why do you need to upgrade? You don't really need to upgrade. And it's like, dude, I saw the difference. I saw the difference. It not only is the graphic fidelity way lower, but then it can't even run like very well. So it's like 30 frames per second, and it's like on PS5 it's 60 frames per second, and the fidelity is incredible. So it's just like it's a super super dated console, and you can tell. And it's so weird because I'm playing on PS5, and it just feels weird that it can't be like a PC where it just upscales everything and it's just like, all right, we're good. But the PS4 version is limited so that it can play on PS4s. So yes, I did do that, and luckily it's only like 4 hours, so I adjusted pretty quickly and just like ran through. It was very 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 fast, which is I was actually thinking about skipping Stray. Like I didn't want to upgrade I didn't want to upgrade PS Plus. I didn't want to do anything, and then I heard it was 4 to 6 hours, and I was like, okay, that's like a day. I could sit down. That's a day, and then I ended up loving it so much that I was like, okay, I will grab it twice. And dude, something I regret. So on PS5, I was 48th in the world to platinum it. And the thing is, like, I could have been like very close to the top because I went to bed on the day that it came out, the 19th, and the first platinum wasn't popped until the 20th. So I could have platinumed it that night, but I just went to bed instead of doing the speed run. And then when I woke up, I started it on PS4 instead of completing it. And then I went back and I completed it later. But it was just like, wow. It was one of those things where it's like, wow, I cannot believe I was in like the top 50 in the world to platinum this. That's kind of nuts.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
When you posted that, I was like, oh my gosh. Like 48, that's nothing to, cry about or anything. Like, that's awesome.
But I took my time. That's the weirdest part. Is like I took my time. It's not like I was racing. If I was racing, I could have got way higher.
And you know what? I think that might speak volumes to just how beautiful this world is. A lot of people wanted to stay in this world and just experience it and look around the scenery. I thought this game was gorgeous. Just to like at certain points, I would just look up at the sky and just look and be like, wow, I can't believe how gorgeous this game is.
Yeah, and I didn't use a guide the first time. I had it open. I had a guide open. I looked up the trophy information. It usually is like missables and all this stuff. And I had it open, but I would like explore and I would just like go as much as I could. And then before I would leave a section, if I like opened up the menu and I saw that the memories were missing or something like that and I couldn't find it, I'd be like, which one is it? And then I'd go to it. But for the most part, I played it just like with my own exploration. And I freaking was so into this game. And after I completed it the first time, then I went back to get some of the other missable trophies that I totally just completely missed. And while I was doing that, I was watching streamers play this on social media or like Twitch and things like that. And I've been following it on social media, and everybody's posting their cat pictures, and like everyone's just having a jolly time with this game. And it was like, I don't use Twitter very much, but like it was #1 trending on Twitter. And I was like, this is so good for video games. And like, I just saw an article this morning that was like, Stray proves why linear shouldn't be a bad word. And I'm like, thank you. Like, we need more linear games. They're not that bad. It's like, it's something short and compact and something that we can all enjoy. Like, you don't have to have a 75-hour game to enjoy it. It just seems like these linear games are going by the wayside. And last night I downloaded Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. And it's like, I miss this. I miss the linearity. Like, I don't remember the last time I played a linear game. It feels like forever.
Even though it's linear, in the fact that it's like broken up into individual chapters, some of the chapters are expansive, and you can do them in like different ways. Like there's certain instances where you can do things before you do something else, where that wasn't necessarily the quote unquote correct order, but it still works, and you can still do it that way.
Yeah, like I learned about that. Like I'll talk about it later, but like we're kind of staying spoiler free right now. But this game is developed by Blue 12. It's a French-based studio. I was reading just a little bit about it on Wikipedia, and apparently the devs that started this were a spinoff of the French Ubisoft studio. So it's like, it goes back to what I've been saying. There's good devs there. There's good devs at Ubisoft, and then the freaking executives or whatever's going on there is like ruining the games. There's good devs there. Like, look at this game. It's so beautiful. And it was published by Annapurna, and they're quickly becoming one of my favorite publishers. I think, now I might be wrong on this, but I think they published 12 Minutes. And
I'm looking at it right now.
And it's like...
Yeah, they published 12 Minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and it just seems like they just keep putting out banger after banger, and they're not... You don't have to like... They're not AAA budget games. These are indie games that they're publishing, and they're just keeping it strong. And then another one of my favorite is Devolver. I love so much of the games that Devolver puts out. It's unbelievable. So they're probably my top. And also a lot of the games that Devolver is publishing, like coming up, are some of my most anticipated games. Like that Plucky game, Squire.
Oh gosh, I cannot
Plucky
wait
Squire.
for that game.
Like, unbelievable. These indie games, I keep telling my friends, I'm like, dude, the indies are the future, because the AAA games are getting washed out. There's just like
so much money. They take so long to come out.
They do. They do take so long to come out. They take like 3 to 5 years, or even more than that sometimes, but like 3 to 5 years. I think it's been 5 years since 2018.
Yep.
Like, it's
5 years for God of War. Yep.
Yeah, it's
5
ridiculous.
years. No, yeah, it will be almost 5 years for God of War. It'll be like 4 and like 3/4, but it's 5 years for Horizon. I'm actually looking at Annapurna right now. My favorite game by them actually came out in they released it in episodes, and then in 2020 they released a complete edition for the first time outside of like PC. It was Kentucky Route Zero, and yeah, that game, very different art style than this game. Not like a big vast like 3D world. It's it's a 2D landscape, but like I absolutely love that game. And you're totally right with just the way they can tell stories through environment. Like, there's dialogue obviously, but the way they see these games that just tell stories through the environment, and I love it.
I do too. And I actually wanted to ask you about, did you notice that the robot is named after the studio?
Now that you bring up B12, yeah, it is actually. I didn't know that that's who developed it.
Yeah, Blue 12 developed it, and the name of the robot in the game, B12. Your companion, is B12. And I was like, that is such a like good touch. It's such a good touch. And I've seen 2 pictures. So they had a cat that they modeled the stray cat in the game. They had a cat that they modeled that after, and then they also had a cat voice actor, which I thought was adorable.
I saw the cat voice actor. I saw a tweet about that. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
They sounded very real. It
sounded real. Did you like the fact that you can meow during like the cutscenes?
Yes, I did, and I actually did a couple times. I just felt like that was what this cat would do. Like. Yeah. Specifically, like towards the end, like there's moments where I just was like, I gotta press it. It's like this cat wants to say something. It needs to say something, because something about cats is like they like to mimic human behavior. So I wouldn't just sit there. There were times where I would just sit there and I just press circle over and over and over again, just doing it. But no, during serious cutscenes, I would like, I don't know, I was playing as the cat, so I was just in the mode of the cat, and it's really, really fun. But let's get into spoiler territory. I think I want to unleash everything I want to say, because this game is so good to my heart, dude. I love this game. But let's start with, I didn't see any marketing on this game at all. I think I watched that first reveal, and it was like, I was like, I'm in. That's it. Like, it's a cat that's exploring this city. I didn't know that there was going to be like enemies or combat or anything like that.
Same here. I didn't know there was any combat or enemies. I didn't know you could die. And then all of a sudden, when I first see those enemies, I'm like, what is going on here? And then when they originally jumped on me, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that you could actually, like I said, I didn't realize you could actually be attacked. And then I didn't even realize you could kill them. When you realize you can kill the enemies, it's like, whoa.
Yes. Yeah. I kind of was super intrigued by that, because it starts out and, you're just with the other cats, and I'm like, oh, this is so enjoyable. And I didn't think that they were going to get separated. I just thought that it would kind of be like one of those situations where the cats like maybe separate or like go and explore on their own and then maybe come back together. But, the cat gets separated, and I was like, it was very violent. And I thought that there would be a huge uproar about this, because, I mean, this cat takes a beating throughout this game. There's like several moments where the cat is just flung around and just beat down. And it just seems like a lot of people were going to be sensitive to that. And I get it. There's people who really love pets and they don't want to see any kind of harm come to them. And I get it. And I even heard some conversations happening where they're like, should there have been an accessibility option that like makes the screen dark or black whenever like violence to the animal is happening. And it's like, because some people were like, I don't like how the cat falls over after all of the Zerks jump onto it. They were like, I wish it just would have faded to black instead of having that happen. Now, none of that bothered me. It's a video game. It's not a real cat. No kitties were harmed in the making of this video game. So it's just like, I get what people are saying, but I did not expect it. You know what I mean? I kind of expected this to be one of those easy, chill games to just get through, and I was very shocked by enemies being in this game.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more of a you're trying to. I had an idea that you were trying to escape the city and get back to like the quote unquote real world. I thought it was going to be a lot more just like, oh, solve these puzzles. That I didn't think they would. I mean, obviously the game has puzzles, but I didn't like you said. I didn't expect there to be enemies. I thought it was more going to be like, all right, you need to platform up to there. You need to scratch the door. You need to pull this lever.
Yeah, dude, that's another thing is the scratching posts. I got that trophy on my first try without like.
Did you really? I missed.
Yeah.
I missed like one chapter. I think it was like. I'm trying to think. Oh, it was the sewers because there's only one place you can scratch in the sewers chapter, and I missed it on my first time through.
I thought just because I just love cats, and even though I hate that they scratch things, everywhere I went, I wanted to scratch things. So now I have a new perspective for cats. I understand why they want to scratch things. Like any time I saw a carpet, I was like, scratch it. I'm gonna scratch it. Oh, there's a door. I'm gonna scratch it. Like, which by the way, did you do that? There's like these secret. If you're just exploring and you find a door in this back alley, or
yeah, you can scratch it, and like you'll get the dialogue.
Yeah, you'll get the dialogue of like what's happening on the other side of the door.
Yep. Yeah, I got it. It's mostly in the slums that happens.
Yes.
Like, one of them is like, "Oh, I'll go. No one's home. Just leave me alone." That's one of them. One of them says that. Well, there's like two. There's like a girl and like almost like a mother talking at one point.
There's like a couple who are fighting, I think.
Yep.
At one point, and then there's also some of those in Midtown, which I think that it's really hard for me to choose if like the slums or Midtown was like my favorite location, because Midtown is so beautiful. Whenever I went there, I almost Googled, I didn't, but I was like, is ray tracing happening? Because the reflections of the neon lights on the street and the way that the lighting is looking in this little city streetway is unbelievable. It's gorgeous. Like maybe like it reminded me so much of like Cyberpunk, but it looked better than Cyberpunk. And I'm like, wow, this is just so pretty. It was so amazing to just like explore that whole area. But I like the verticality of the slums. That was my favorite thing. Like getting up on the roofs and just being like looking out over all of the slum area was so beautiful. I cannot express how much I loved just exploring in this game. And maybe that's something that we should talk about too, is like, do you think that this should have been more of a platformer, or do you think that the choice that they made to just make the cat very good at what it's doing and like just pressing X on each spot, it was the correct choice?
I thought that was the correct choice because for what they wanted to, they wanted to tell a story, and I think they wanted to focus more on puzzle aspect of, just figuring out what you need to do, bringing, oh, this person needs a certain item for you to be able to progress the story. You need to give this person a sweater so that they can then in turn fix something for you. I thought that was much more important than, oh, you need to jump on this. Oh, if you don't do the pixel perfect jump, you're going to, fall from the rooftops and die. I thought it was a really good idea to just let, the X button comes up, you just press it and the cat does it for you. I thought that was a much better idea. And then you're not just like, there were some jumps that like, if it required you to make like these pixel perfect jumps, you probably would have died a lot more, because when you're walking on like a pipe and you need to jump across to like a building, that would have been pretty difficult because you might have been clicking X. You might click X at the wrong time. You might not have the right specific angle. So I think you would have died a lot more.
I also think it would have been a lot more janky. I think that I don't know what word I'm looking for, the fluidity, the grace that cats have when they walk and when they jump is so smooth. And by making the cat like strictly jumping to specific areas, it really did make it feel like the cat was very agile and capable. And I do like that. I don't know if you noticed this, but I kind of figured it out on my own. But if you try to jump from a little bit further back on a certain area, then the cat will struggle Like it'll, its back paws will like slip off and then it'll like scratch up.
Yeah,
And
I noticed that a few times. Yeah.
yeah, that's not just random. That's just because you're like pressing X really fast and you're in a situation where you're in between a close part of the jump or you're just like a little too far back. And so they have like this little gap area. And so it happened to me more often than not because I'm like tapping X. And then like I would stop doing that and then I wouldn't have any of those problems. And it was really, really cool. But I really do enjoy the fact that they went with that route. And it was just like looking around and being like, where's my path up? And like finding the memories and other robots, like talking to them and just exploring. It was so amazing. And something that I found about this game, it's a very easy game. Like no one's going to struggle, I don't think.
I think if you're younger, you might get a little lost in like the slums or midtown, like just trying to figure out like, oh, how am I supposed to get this?
Yes.
How am I supposed to figure out how am I supposed to get this worker hat? What do you mean I can't go in the hat store?
Yes. Okay, that's true. Some of the puzzles can be a little bit, they take a little bit longer, but getting around and seeing everything is it's not like, I don't know how to even say this.
It was pretty easy to figure out and remember where everything was.
Yeah, especially because, and this was pointed out to me by a stream I was watching, but like all of the important things on the map are marked with like a blue neon sign. Mm-hmm. And so you really do know it'll like guide you to every single place you need to go, which really helped me out for my speed run. I wish I told Ben about that, and it's just like those are very important and you could get through the game so fast if you just follow those. But there was these puzzles like with the Zerks and you have to like move them around and lure them and things like that. And the reason that I say the game is so easy is because the developers really thought things through, and I really appreciated it because there was times where like there's this puzzle where you need to move this fence. You hack the gate and then it closes one side of the fence and the other side opens, and then you do it again, and then you need to like jump a gap and get over to the other side. And like when I did that, one of the Zerks or two of the Zerks stayed on the other side of the fence, and instead of the having to redo that puzzle because I didn't do it picture perfect, they just exploded. They were like, oh, you did the puzzle right, it's just that there were some stragglers, so we're just gonna let the player continue and just like evaporate those enemies. And I was like, that is so smart for people who aren't very good at games and they want to play this adorable cat game. You don't have to be pixel perfect. Like that's something that we talked about earlier with platforming, is like, this is so accessible. It's so accessible. And I tell everyone who's like not a gamer to play it, because I think that this is a great start for like teaching people how to play games.
And problem solve too.
Yeah. This is one of those things where it's like, has someone never used analog sticks before? Okay, that's fine. All they have to do is like slowly start to learn how to use that right stick to look, and then press the X button to move. Look, X button. And then they use the left stick to move. I think that this game is just like, if you're going to introduce somebody to games, this is the one I'm telling people now. I'm like, do this one. It's adorable, has good story. It's easy to like move around. If things happen, like the enemies attack the creature, it's a very quick respawn, and then they learn how to press the circle button. There's really not much more to this game than that. It's a very good game for starters and like fun to explore. Just that is the key to this game. It's a very, very, very fun game to explore. But did you have any highlights from this game?
So a few of my highlights were I really like the slums. Like you said, I loved the verticality of it, climbing the buildings and going to the top. Almost like it encourages you to stay like above the slums, like on the rooftops of each building, because that's where all like the main story beats are. But just like walking around the slums and meeting all the different robots and seeing how they react to the cat itself, spilling paint and seeing the person who owns the like basically the laundromat run out, and he's all aggravated, and he's like, and every time you walk by him, he just gives you that dirty look. His face, his screen changes to like the angry emoji basically.
Yeah.
And it looks at you. That's funny. To just, like I said, meeting all the different robots. Though the robot that gets distracted, the one who drops the paint can because they're tossing it back and forth, which is kind of funny. Random robots that would just be running around can actually trip on the cat. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that. That was
Yeah.
amazing. When that first happened, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" You know how many times I've done that with like friends' cats and stuff. Especially my ex roommates, they had a cat, and for some reason that cat loved to be at my door, and so I'd come out in the morning like half awake. It's 8 a.m. I'm barely have my eyes open, and that cat trips me every morning, and I'm like, "Gosh, I should have known by now. I should know that he's hanging out right there at my feet." And so it's just like one of those things where when I saw one of the robots trip, I was like, "Ah!" It's like that's amazing. That's such a beautiful touch.
Yeah, every time you meow, like especially during near the musician who you have to collect the
Oh, the
music sheets
musician.
for, every time you meow, he gets his face turns to like a heart almost. That was awesome.
Yes.
Collecting those music sheets was fun too, and I actually. When I collected the music sheets, each time I brought them back to him, I would sit down. I listened to the whole song. I didn't because you can run away. You don't have to listen to the song. I
Me
listened
too.
to each and every song, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like awesome!" I could not believe that each one was like probably like a minute and 30 to 2 minutes. I'm like, I can't believe they took the time to actually, it's not just like a
Make
30-second
songs.
like little like music note. This is like a
Did
minute 30 to 2 minute song.
did it for at first I was a little taken aback by it because I don't know if you noticed, but it's got like multiple guitars or multiple instruments where the robot is playing on the guitar, but I could tell that there was like you could hear strumming and then you could hear picking at the same time, and so I could tell that it was like layered guitars. But I still didn't care because I just loved the music so much. There was times that I was like walking around my apartment or cooking, and I was just like singing some of those songs because they're so catchy. They're so catchy and they're really, really good. And I did the same thing. I just kind of sat. I just let the animations go idle, and it's really fun to do this too because the cat will do like idle animation where it like licks its paw or it stretches while the music's
It
playing, and
does
I'm
the
just like,
typical cat things because you are a
yeah,
cat. Yeah.
yes, exactly. It's just so good. And I accidentally it's a missable trophy, but I accidentally got it. The where you put the paper bag on your head, it's right by the
Oh, I did the
robot.
same thing. I accidentally got it because I was like, oh, I'm gonna put this paper bag on my head.
The name of the trophy is Curiosity Killed the Cat, and
Yep.
it's just like everyone who did it knows. They know.
And then controller backwards. Like if you go left, it's right. If you go right, it's left. Yeah,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh my! And then you can't get it off. It goes off on its own after I
Yep.
think maybe like a minute or two. But I'm like, oh my god, I can't get this off. I was like freaking out. I'm like, how am I supposed to get this off now? And it was like a specific thing. Another missable trophy that I got on my own in the slums was the slam dunk one, and I didn't know it was a trophy. And the only reason why I got it was because I saw there was a ball, like just a basketball, just sitting there, and I noticed the trash can was down there. I'm going to try to get this in, obviously. And when I got it in, the trophy popped. I was like, oh my god, it's a trophy. But then there's other things that you can do as the cat and interact with the environment that aren't trophies. And I thought that was really cool that they put things in the game that a typical cat would probably do. Just try to go explore. They, like we said, scratch the doors. Those aren't necessarily trophies, but they're things that cats would do, and you get more out of the environment. It's like I said, it's all about that environmental storytelling, and it tells the whole story.
Yeah, and some of it's really dark. It's extremely like brutal. Like I remember I was exploring the slums and I got in the library and the first thing I want to do is I want to knock over all the books.
Yep.
So I started jumping on all the book piles and like knocking them over. And then there's a dead robot in the middle. And
Yep.
I'm like, "Holy crap." Like there's so many alive robots like right outside this apartment and probably none of them know that this guy is dead in here. It's crazy. I'm like, "Wow."
Even
And
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna jump into a little bit of the plot in the slums. When you're collecting all the notebooks of Momo's friends, some of like in that specific library, you get the implication that like all these people like trying to figure out how to get out of here, they were so obsessed with it that like they threw away like their entire lives. Like they abandoned their friends, basically their families, and their friends and families were like, "We're done with you. Like you're so obsessed that we're done." And you can pick that up through the letters that you read, looking around each apartment.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where there's a robot that tells you how long it's been. It's like I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was like 2 million days or something like that. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Like that's why there's so many robots that like want to end this. Like some of them are content and comfortable and they're like, this is just how we're gonna have to live the rest of our days. And like there's some that are like, my friends are gone. I want to return to them. And I think that it's really cool that you're kind of stuck in the prison with them as the cat, because you fall into a hole. Like, you start on the outside of the city. And I think that that is such an interesting way to go. And then when you're inside the city, there's no way out. Like, so the cat is also trying to get out, but then there's others that are trying to get out. So you kind of get this bond of like, hey, we're in this together. And I don't know, just going through, and I don't know if you noticed this, but Doc and Seamus, yeah,
Seamus.
they were a reference to Back to the Future.
Yep.
Yeah,
Back to the Future is my favorite movie of all time. So
I loved that. I could not believe it. I was like, what? This is such a like cute little Easter egg.
That was such a heartwarming reunion too, when they meet
really,
and they just run and hug, and it's so funny because they look like robots hugging for some reason, was just really funny to me. Like the way that they animate, and that was so heartwarming because when you first meet Seamus, he's like so upset. He wants nothing to do with this. He's like, Dad abandoned me. He was obsessed with it, and then you show him the note, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, he might still be out there." And you almost give him hope, and you can see him slowly start to buy in and transition into like, we need to get him back. He's out there somewhere, and then he gives you the badge. Oh, it was awesome.
Oh, those badges were awesome. There's a secret one. I think it was in the slums. Maybe no, it was not in the slums. It was in the Midtown where you have to climb up into a prison cell, and that was such a like out of the way, like you have to climb so high to get into that, and it was very, very cool. But after you get them all, you get a translucent like backpack, and I thought that was really, really cool, and it stays through your other playthroughs.
Yeah, it stays through because I noticed once I got it, I'm like, oh, because I missed the one in Midtown. That was the one I missed. You do have to. There is one in the slums that you can buy too. You have to buy one with the 3 soda cans.
Yes. Those characters were really great. Like B12, Clementine, Doc, Seamus, Momo, the Guardian. When I first saw the Guardian, I thought it was going to be a boss fight. I thought I was going to have to like run around and dodge and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, she's got a staff. And then he turned out to be really nice.
I thought it was really cool. He's basically like the protector of that land, because the slums is essentially the way I saw it. Because compared to Midtown, the slums looks like it's like almost like the poor section.
It really was. Like that was the whole idea.
It was like run down. Everyone's freezing in the slums too. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that they all had the clothes on.
Yeah, because then you have to give one of the you have to first of all you have to give the electric cord to, I think her name's Mama.
Grandma.
Yeah, Grandmama, who makes like sweaters for everyone. You give her that, and then you have to give the poncho to Elliot so that then he'll fix the broken tracker for you.
Yes.
But he was like, if you look at his animation, he is freezing.
Oh yeah, he's shaking.
Yeah. They really humanized the robots through that.
They really did. They really did human. That's why I thought that the reunion of Seamus and Doc was so good, because they didn't just see each other, run, and embrace. They were like, I can't believe this is happening. They stop for a second, look at each other, just kind of taking each other in. And then Doc just grabs Seamus, like just grabs him and hugs him. And then Seamus like reluctantly lays his head on the shoulder. And I'm like, that was so well done. Like such a well done like touch, because it looked so human despite not being human. And I think that that's what this game tries to do. It tries to tell you like a human story without humans. And it kind of gives you that idea of like, what does it mean to be human? And like, can they continue to be this way? And even B12, when he remembers like who he is and what he is, like misses feeling and like misses the sensations that humans had.
And you really get that when you enter Ant Village.
Yes.
And he's refusing to translate. He's like, I need a moment. I just need a moment. Because he's starting to get those memories back. He's like, I need a moment. I can't do this. And then every time you try to talk to someone, you can't talk to them.
Yeah. That gives you such a sense of how important that character was to helping tell a story, because when you get separated way further in the game, in the jail, it's very eerie, but then you're talking to Clementine and Clementine's pointing, and it's like, you have to just understand through body language of the robots, which is a very, very different situation than it was with text boxes and the robot translating things. And I never really thought too hard into it. Like, can the cat read? Can the cat understand what the robot's saying? And I never really cared that much about that.
Animals are smart. And I think the cat, it had a connection. Like,
it did.
You had a common goal and you were helping each other throughout. I liked Clementine the best.
Clementine was the best. Absolutely. I love B12 and Clementine. I really loved everyone. Momo just being obsessed in the apartment and like it just it was one of
when you
those
get to
things.
him and he just wakes up, he's
Yeah. But like Clementine in the jail section was so cool and I really loved how you wanted to protect her because that was another part of the game where it's very dark. And I even wanted to talk to you about this because there's dead robots in inhumane conditions, but they're robots. And I was like, what an interesting concept because a lot of people when you like take the idea of robots, you're like, well, they're not human. They're dehumanized and like they don't have humanity. But then you see the conditions in like the other robots and how they want to be treated and like they should be the way they are in the slums where everybody is kind of helping each other. And then you get into this prison and there's robots who are having their entire memory wiped and like they're just completely like broken apart and pushed down. And I'm like, this sucks. And that's why it was like knowing that. And another thing I want to bring up later is if you know how the Zerks came about, but when you're in that prison and you get out and Clementine's driving the little scooter thing and then she closes the door and she's like, I'm gonna run. It's like for me, it dawned on me. It's like she's gonna get her memory erased.
yeah,
Like,
everything like her life's over. She's giving up the rest of her life to fulfill the ultimate goal that
yeah,
the people before her were trying to accomplish.
yeah, and that gave me goosebumps. And when she closed the gate, that's when I meowed. That was the moment that I was like, I gotta say something to Clementine because she just did something so incredible. And so I was like meowing during that scene.
That scene actually, like the whole driving up part was awesome. When you're driving through Midtown and like you're running into like boxes and other people are jumping out of the way to dodge you. I thought that was shot. It was really cool. It was almost like watching a movie.
It really was. It was really awesome. I actually, I'm now my focus is now on Blue 12. Like if they make another game, I'm really excited to see what they do because I think that they have proved themselves to be a pretty good developer. Even they don't have to make the most complex stuff, but I'll be interested in it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wanted to stay in Midtown and just comparing it to the slums a little bit. Like we had said, the slums, almost everyone's free. They're all equal. There's really no like government there. Whereas in Midtown, there's a clear government where you have like police robots and people in charge, and there's a clear hierarchy here. Who's treated who's treated well and who's not treated well. And like obviously Clementine has like a bounty out on her head.
And it seems like it's Midtown is oppressed. Like they're oppressed. They don't get along with the police. Like that's how they get sent to the jail. And then like all of those people died in the jail. Like if you run around the jail, you can go in the jail cells and see people without their lower half or not people, but robots. And like they're missing arms or whatever. It's just like they're just thrown into that jail and just completely like mistreated. And you can tell like as you're going around, there's that area, there's the motel, and is that where Clementine is?
Yeah, Clementine lives there. And then there's the three people in there you have to take down the cameras because they don't want to be watched anymore. Like we don't want to be watched, and they start partying after, and like they start freaking out and partying once you take the cameras down. Like we're free, we're no longer being watched.
Yeah, it's a place in the city. Yeah, it's like a place in the city where they were able to not be watched, and like after that happens, then they gate off that area. Like there's no robots are allowed to go back there.
Yeah, and it's on lockdown because they're looking for Clementine. So then you have to sneak in. And did you speaking of that? Did you get the trophy the first time to not be detected?
Yes, I did.
No, I didn't because I didn't know that was a trophy. So I'm like, oh. So I got in when I got into Clementine's apartment. I got there without being detected, and then after that, I'm like, oh well, I'm just gonna book it out of here.
It was really cool. Like it was interesting because it's not something that I think about often, but like cats can be very stealthy and like especially when you play with them and you like if you like peek around a corner they'll do like that pounce where they'll like get down real low and they'll think that they're sneaky. And so whenever it was like a stealth section, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm switching gears and I'm going right into being stealthy. And so I didn't get caught.
I think they did a fantastic job with the trophies in this game, centering them around the cat. Like I said, being that, like you had just brought up, being stealthy to get to the apartment without being caught. That's very much like what a cat thing would do. The The 9 lives, I thought that was really creative.
That was too. That's one that I told AJ about, where the game is very easy. I had to earn, like I had to intentionally kill myself 9 times
I did as
because
well.
there's no way that I was gonna die 9 times in this game. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing
No,
because
like we had said, it's like this is a very accessible game.
super accessible, which is great. And if you're signing up for that, I think you're in for a good time. I think that the game is just such a joy to play. And something else I wanted to talk about was the sewers. Now, I don't think it was my first playthrough. No, I did. I did attempt it on my first playthrough. That trying to go through the sewers without using the light.
See, I didn't look at the trophies beforehand, so I just like went in it. But when I went back, that was the first trophy I got on my cleanup.
Yeah.
That there's one particular part where that can be a little difficult.
Yes.
And it's when you have to open the gate for Momo on the when he's on the raft, and there's all these Zerk eggs surrounding the lever.
Yes.
When you go over that can be a little difficult without using the light. I did die, I think, twice trying to do it.
I think the hardest part for me was the gate where you have to unlock both sides.
Oh yeah, and
that was so
once
hard.
you do the first one side, they all start coming in.
Yes, they just start flooding in, and it's like you can't make a mistake because they will all catch you. And so you have to like have a flawless run to the other side, and that was probably the hardest part. And luckily on the speedrun part, man, it was so nice to just be able to use that flashlight, just completely obliterating every Zerk in my way. It was really, really cool. But
speaking of semi-difficult, maybe just a tiny bit difficult, we have to talk about, do you know what trophy I'm going to talk about?
Yes. This is so ridiculous. It's not even that it's hard, it's unfair.
Yeah, the cat, it's called like catastrophe or something.
Yes.
Getting through the chapter, your first encounter with the Zerks in is it Dead City or the Flat? It's either chapter 2 or chapter
Dead
3.
City, I'm pretty sure.
It's right at the end of the chapter. Getting through there without even a Zerk touching you. Do you know how many times did it take you?
It probably took me. Well, I did it twice.
That is true. You did do it twice.
And it took me probably 25 to 30 tries.
Okay. It took me around 20 to 25, and that was on the caveat of people already having. I had already read in like the trophy thread of LSM, like, oh, here's a way to you can easily do it. It's like zigzag. So like that was me originally doing it like zigzagging. So I couldn't imagine how many times it would have taken me if I didn't know. I'm like, oh, zigzagging works a little bit, but even when you're zigzagging, it's still like
it feels luck. It feels like luck based. It really does.
When each time I advance to like the next section, you'd be like, all right, this is awesome, and then like wanting to get on me, I'm like, come on, and like that last section when a Zerk would jump on you, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
I saw on the LSM server, on the trophy server, or on the trophy channel, someone made it all the way to the end on like after trying so many times, and then they were trying to jump into the window and they couldn't do it, and a Zerg got on them, and I was like, that's heartbreaking.
Yes.
And then I was like, don't give up, you almost did it, don't do it. Yeah. But it's one of those things where I think the second time was very frustrating, but I had learned a little bit more. So like I knew there's sometimes where the Zergs come out of a corner and like I would run close to the opposite corner so that they didn't latch onto me. Because if you stay on that inside corner and they come from like maybe the right side, then it's like an immediate attachment. They don't even jump. They just automatically do it. And Ben said when he was doing it that he just ran through them sometimes. And I'm like, that is straight up luck. I did not get close to them at all, because if I did, they would just latch on so quickly. And so, yeah, it's stressful. And the only thing that I think that makes the trophy not so bad is it's only a minute.
Yeah, it's only they're asking you to like go through the whole game without a Zerg touching you.
Yes. Yeah, it's only a minute.
And to be honest, like we said, this game is so accessible. If someone's playing this as like their first, like their intro to like analog stick gaming, they're not playing it for the platinum trophy. So like they're never gonna have to do this.
No, but the platinum trophy, like the whole list was very well done, very very good.
I think the only two trophies that really might give someone a problem would be that and the speedrun one, which I had no problem with the speedrun one. My first time going through it, I'm like, 2 hours. I'm like, I'm just gonna try to do it the first time. And I did it in an hour and 34 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. My first time, granted, I did play it 2 times. Mine was also an hour and 30 because, I did it on PS5 and then I did all the collectibles on PS4. Like ran through and I just did like all the trophies and I just left the speedrun one. Did it all in one run. Because I had already played the game at that point, so I just wanted to get all the trophies. And so like running the speedrun after playing it 2 times, so I played it on PS5 and then I played it on PS4. Man, I knew the game inside out by that point. So it was just like easy, like running through.
That's the thing that I didn't realize, like how much like I knew the game. Because when I'm going through when I started up my speedrun trophy, I'm like, do I remember where like everything is? And then immediately when I got to the slums, I'm like, all right, I know where I exactly know what I need to do, where everything is. I didn't get lost once trying to find like like the laundromat, the electronics store. Like I didn't get lost at all. I thought I might because the slums is like it's kind of earlier in the game. But like I immediately knew, and that just goes to show you how memorable the world is.
There was one part where I was like stuck for just a moment for like a minute, and that was like right when you return to the slums part 2, I think, and the sewers are where you're supposed to go, and I was like, I don't remember where to go next. Oh yeah, sewers, and because I was skipping all the dialogue, and so it's like, oh yeah, and the sewers were open, and then I ran through the sewers, and it's like there was miniature moments like that where it's like, where's the next place? The shortest chapter was Ant Village, dude. You just jump up to the very top and then go across the thing, and that's
I was a little disappointed because I really liked the whole concept of the Ant Village. It's like this little island, like in the middle of the sewer, and it's all vertical. And some of the characters in there were kind of funny too, like the people playing.
Oh yes,
great
was
trophy,
that chess?
Great trophy. That you jump on? They're playing chess, right?
No, I think they're playing dominoes.
Dominoes, and then you talk to one of the robots, and he's like, "Oh, don't tell the other guy, but I'm programmed to win this game."
That's so good. I don't think I did that. I just kept ruining their game.
One of them when you talk to him, he's like, "Don't tell the other guy, but I'm programmed to win."
I just kept ruining their game. I did it like 3 times.
It's so funny. They freak out.
They do, and then you watch them, and they actually pick up the pieces and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think, I said, wow. Like we had said, I think they put a lot of emotion in these robots to make them feel humanized. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. It was so like fun to just talk to everyone and see like who they are and what they're doing. And oh my god, rubbing up against the robots too was super awesome.
Yes, that was. I mean, it's such a cat thing to do. They rub right up against, and you couldn't do it to every single one.
No, you couldn't.
You could only do it to select people, and I think that goes to show you that some people, like if you had, I wish that you could attempt. This is one thing that I kind of wish they did, that you could have attempted to do it on everyone, and the ones that you couldn't do it on would kind of like. I wish they kind of like backtracked a little bit and were like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
That would have been cool, but I understand. It was still like overall it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. But man, the ending was very emotional.
Yeah,
very emotional.
I just so when you first open the roof and the light just comes in and like it comes in on the slums at first and they all look up and they're like they have no idea what's going on, and then you start to put it together. Oh my gosh, it's like always been pitch black. Not pitch black, but it's always been like if there was no lights on, it's just
no
darkness.
Wonder it's so cold.
Yeah, and then you start. That's when I put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, that's why they're so cold.
It's so cold. You would never get sunlight. You would never get any kind of warmth. It's just like, dang. So it's really cool. And like seeing the robots like put their hands up, it's like, oh, it's so awesome. It's so good. It's such a touching moment. And then not only that, but like the cat just laying with the robot and just the way the cat like pokes, like does the little paw on the robot. It's just like so sad. It's like, God dang.
Yeah, B12. I mean, she sacrifices herself.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was such an incredible, like, that robot just wanted to open up the outside for everybody else, and it was really, really cool to see that. And then the cat moves on, and I thought that was like such like a sad but like real thing. It's like that cat just was like, that was my friend. It was fun, and then gets up and goes out to the world. And I'm like, I hope that, I don't know if the cat reunited with its friends or its family.
Yeah, it's a little vague, but I mean,
it is very vague. It's all alone, and I'm like, wow.
I like how they just kind of threw you in. Like they don't explain like why the cat's there. They don't explain any of it. They just throw you right in.
They really did, and it was. I thought it was really well done. I was choked up. I didn't cry, but I was like, that is so sad. Like, that is incredibly sad because the robot really was a friend. Like, throughout the whole thing from the very beginning. Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about that, where it puts the backpack on the cat and the cat like slinks around.
Oh yeah, because
That made me laugh.
It's not used to
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I mean that's very realistic. Most
it's
games
very
they throw
realistic.
something on and you'd be fine. You just like, all right, just adapts right away. But no, it starts to slump around, and it's like you'll get used to it.
Yeah, it plops over, and I'm like, this is such a cat thing.
I
Like,
do
it's
like
so,
that. Going back to like we had talked about that, when you fall from like a really fall in inside the wall at the end, when you fall and you enter Dead City,
yeah,
you immediately, the cat doesn't just drop. You try to walk, and he's basically walking on three legs. He's holding his
yeah.
paw up like a cat would, or a dog would, or any type of animal who has a hurt, an injured limb, and then you fall, and that happens again. In where does that happen? Is that in? It happens again later.
And it's it might be the sewers. It's like
either the
somewhere around
sewers
there
or jail. It's one of those two.
because you're on that like that cart that's going like running through. It is the sewers because I think right after that you go to dock. No, it's not the sewers. Then it's like the rooftops.
Yeah, it is rooftops. It is rooftops. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to see Doc, and then you get Doc back to the slums for part 2.
Yeah,
I think.
I think they did a really good job at just showcasing like what a typical cat would do, and
Yeah.
the environment. There's so much environmental storytelling, like we said.
And do you know how the Zerks got there?
No, I don't. How did the Zerks get there?
So Zerks were a bacteria designed to eat trash, human trash, so that they could reduce the amount of waste that was happening, and then they just got out of control.
Okay, now
And
now that
they
you
started
now that you bring
devouring
that up,
all
I
life,
think
all matter.
I remember doing some
There's a
of the
Neko Corporation,
yeah.
Neko something like that, which is I learned was that means cat in Japanese.
Okay.
So the name of the corporation was Cat Corporation, but yeah, they created the Zerks to devour trash, and they eventually just started getting all matter. They just started eating everything. Yeah, which is really cool because like one thing that I love is that bacteria is destroyed by sunlight. So whenever the thing opens up, it kills a bunch of them.
Yeah,
at the end,
saves everybody.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's terrifying to see how scared the robots are of the Zerks.
Oh yeah, because the very first robot, which great touch, where the first robot like reaches out and the cat like jumps back and like arches its back.
Yep.
Because it like gets scared, but it's like all of the Zerks were just like on top of that robot, and it's been devoured. It's like, dang, it's a dark game. It's dark, but it's also very
dark, but it has heartwarming moments and just humorous moments too, like we had mentioned with the Dominoes game.
Yes.
Some of the reactions the robots just do.
Yes, it's so good. Anything else?
Do you have a favorite trophy from the game? Might be the name or just
favorite trophy. The scratch one. The scratch one
okay.
was it was my highlight because it was just like I related to the cat. I wanted to scratch so much, and it when it popped, I was like, I got every single scratch. I thought it would be a collectible, but I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And so it was cool that it was one. I thought that I wasn't going to get it because I thought you had to scratch every location, which is probably why I did it so many places. But it's not that way. The trophy description is that you only have to scratch one in every chapter.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I scratched multiple in several chapters. Like anytime I found it. And oh yeah, some of the sleeping spots, great. They're just so fantastic. Especially the one in the library. That was my favorite one.
My favorite one was the one by the musician.
Oh, that's a good one. There's one on the rooftop where this robot is looking at the roof. He wants to see the stars someday, and there's a little bed next to him that you could sleep on. And yeah, the music one's really, really good. Yeah. That's where actually I got the trophies both times.
Same.
I slept there, but I wish that I would have done it in the library because the library one is my favorite. It's like this little nook, this little tiny place on the shelf for the cat to curl up in a ball. And I was like, this is so adorable.
I think they did a fantastic job with the trophy names too. Like
they really did.
Like my favorite one is Telecat, and it's the one where you just browse through all the TV channels. I'm pressing that remote.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that's in the
slums.
That was
a really good one.
Even just like the story-based trophy, the names like Alcatraz, like Alcatraz.
Yes,
that was great.
I see that.
Yeah,
Meowlity for the music one.
Cat Got Your Tongue when B12 first time it translates to a robot.
They're really punny and very, very good.
Yeah.
Catapult. I think the first trophy I got was the meow 100 times.
That was too, because I had seen that was I saw it on Twitter. Someone like posted a screenshot that was a trophy, so like I did it like right away. I just kept meowing.
I just got into the game and I just was meowing at every single little thing, and it was like the very first thing that happened. It was like bing, and I was like, already? I don't even think I was to the Dead City yet, like the second chapter.
Yeah.
I had meowed that much. It was just like I wanted to hear all the meows. And dude, there's this, if you meow enough, there's like a little bark. There's one that's a bark.
Really? I didn't know that.
This is very funny. It's like it caught me off guard.
That's awesome.
No More Lives. That's a good trophy.
Mm-hmm. The Boom Shakalaka, that's the basketball one. That's a reference to. Do you know what that's a reference to?
I don't.
It's a reference to
Boom Shakalaka. NBA. I've heard that. I've heard that saying before.
The NBA game everyone likes from the 90s.
Oh, NBA Jam?
Yeah, it's a reference for NBA. Why could I not think of that? Wow.
I love NBA Jam.
Yeah, that's a reference to NBA Jam.
Because, like I told you, I've heard it before.
Yeah.
I know I've heard it before.
NBA Jam, yeah.
Yeah, that's so good.
How did I blank on that? That's bizarre.
The Scratch, dude, Scratch is so. Oh yeah, where you take the vinyl or the.
Oh yeah, when you take the vinyl in the nightclub. See, I missed that trophy at first. I had the prompt up. I'm like, why can't I scratch it? I'm like, is there a glitch in the game? And then that was one on my second playthrough. I did have to look up, and then I'm like, oh, you have to get a vinyl record. I'm like, I'm so dumb.
Me too. Just there's just some stuff where I just didn't see it, and I didn't get it with the guide, or I didn't get the stuff. Like there was just a lot of missable trophies per chapter that I was just like, I missed it. But then there was some that I got, like the scratching post ones.
That area though in the nightclub, I thought they did a really good job with. You have to get the lever, pull down the lever so that something comes down from the ceiling, and the guy walks over. You have to jump on it before the guy goes over and hits the lever back up. I thought that was pretty cool. Yep. Like I said, overall, this is a great game.
It really was a great game. Great images too on these trophies. Like I didn't even notice that before, but like little graphic designs for each trophy.
Yeah.
But all right. Do you have any final thoughts?
If you are hesitant on playing this game, or if you're like not a cat person, I'm not a big cat person. Never had cats in my life. Never really been around cats. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's made me appreciate cats a lot more. So I highly suggest, even if you listen to this, I would still go and give it a try, give it a play. Because like we're just talking about it, but actually visualizing it will allow you to experience it. And I definitely would suggest this game. And like we said, it's extremely accessible. If anyone is asking for, hey, I'm trying to get into games, definitely I'd recommend Stray.
Me too. And the thing is like, dude, it's been hard not to get a cat. I'm seeing all of these pictures people are posting of their cats and their controllers. And like, I'm just like, God, I want a cat. I've been trying to hold off to get a cat until I get a home so I don't have to pay like pet rent and like the pet deposit and all that stuff. Cause like, it just seems like they're just stealing my money. And it's just like, I want one so bad. So it's been hard not to go get one because I want one. I'm very much a cat person over a dog
understandable.
person.
I'm a pretty big dog person, but I enjoy cat. Like I
enjoy both.
Cats. Yeah. I would love if they did like a sequel with a dog, or just like set in like a different universe, like same type of concept but with a dog. I would love that. That
would be awesome, but I'm curious how it would work out.
I don't know how they would do it. I don't know. Maybe
I do. I think it would be more of like a speed game, like where you're running a lot.
That would be cool
because it's not going to be as much of a climbing or verticality game, but it's going to be like a lot faster because dogs run and love to like, be doing that. So it would be a very fast game. I feel like.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. I didn't even think about doing a dog game.
That was like immediately halfway through the game. Like they need to do a dog game.
It's gonna be hard. They seem like cat people.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, people. I don't really like. I cannot wait to see what they do next.
Me too. I really think that they showed off their talent here, and I'm guessing that they made a good amount of money, especially if they're getting, the PlayStation Essential money or whatever.
Yeah.
The PlayStation.
So even though I got it on the PS Essential, I still bought it on PC.
Oh, nice! That's amazing. I love that.
I'm gonna support the developer, and like I like this game enough where I bought it on PC, and maybe I'll return to it one day on my Steam Deck.
Dude, if you do, you gotta tell me how it is.
I will.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. Have a great day and happy hunting.